All right. Hello, and thank you so much for joining us. This 7 o'clock update on Tropical Storm Arthur. I am Sharice Gibson. The first named storm of the season is expected to bring some heavy rain, but the other threats we typically expect with tropical system like high winds and storm surge should be less of an issue with Arthur. Reading some questions right now. We're going to get to that in just a second. But right now, we have a new update on Arthur from the National Hurricane Center. So let's go to Chief Meteorologist Chris Franklin with the very latest. Chris?
Yeah, this is kind of one of the craziest looking tropical graphics I've ever shown. Here is the center of the storm. This is the forecasted track, but this is the area that we're watching. All of the thunderstorm activity is well removed from the center. We've been talking about wind shear and dry air would keep this as kind of a lopsided storm, and that is exactly what it has been. So while it may go down in the record books as a Texas storm, it's going to be all Louisiana and Mississippi and continuing even into Alabama and beyond as the storm finally moves inland. Now, all of the thunderstorm activity just off the Louisiana coastline, you see this complex of a lot of lightning, so that's where more of our intense thunderstorms are. We've already gotten into some of the moisture as scattered showers have been spreading across the area and have continued to increase throughout the last several hours, but these are fairly light and moderate, some pockets of heavier showers, and they are moving. Some heavy rain over the Donaldsonville area right now, Gramercy, LaPlace, some scattered showers just south around Lafitte on the west bank of Jefferson Parish, but will continue, so we'll get some scattered showers over the metro area here shortly. We've had some spotty to scattered showers north of the lake, so already starting to tap into that moisture and more to come. Again, that little complex I was showing you that is offshore with all that lightning, that's what we watch inch toward the coast going later into the night, and likely more spreading out more or so over the area before midnight. Now, as we continue through the overnight, at times some heavy downpours, both sides of the lake. The problem is that while we have both sides of the lake under some heavy rainfall, maybe 1, 2, 3 a.m., by about 5, it's starting to wrap up over the metro area, but still ongoing north of the lake, which is why we have been calling for most of our high totals to be on the North Shore, and that is only going to exacerbate the problem for the ongoing river flooding there. Now, I don't want to say we can completely breathe a sigh of relief, as even rainfall totals in the metro area may only be about an inch. All it takes is one of those heavier cells to set up and move over the area, over the metro area, or anywhere that could create some flash flooding. That is going to be our greatest concern, more widespread. River flooding will be an issue on the North Shore later on overnight and heading into tomorrow. We're going to have a complete detailed forecast on streaming, WWL streaming app, as well as answering some of your questions. Join us there.
This has been a severe weather alert from WWL Weather, sponsored by Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services.
All right, we were just updating exactly where the heaviest of the rainfall is associated with Arthur, and kind of one of the craziest tropical graphics you've ever seen here, with the center of the storm around the almost Houston area, Galveston Bay. But we're not worrying about that. All of the heavy rainfall is well removed and just off the Louisiana coastline. We've already started to see the scattered showers spreading further over the region, which has been a little bit more isolated during the day today. Some heavy downpours over Donaldsonville, river parishes, down the bayou. They'll be moving toward the metro area here shortly. Some scattered rain on the North Shore. But that main little complex of storms, that's what moves in later on tonight. Probably before midnight, we're getting in on some of the heaviest rainfall, and that continues through the early morning hours. As we head later into the morning, about 5, 6 a.m., so before daylight, we start to see a lot of the rain wrap up on the South Shore, but still ongoing north of the lake. And this is why, and this has been fairly consistent, models calling for most of our rainfall accumulation totals to be north of the lake. Now, there may be a little bit of a region here that we follow from the Atchafalaya Basin up to parts of the North Shore of 3 to 6 plus inches of rainfall. 2 to 4 plus on the North Shore, and I'm thinking maybe about an inch of rain in the metro area, and that has been fairly consistent with model to model run. Now, some pockets of heavier rain still very likely, and even with that lower end, while we've seen the numbers come down for even both sides of the lake, but even lower still for the metro area, metro, North Shore, basically all of southeast Louisiana through the night tonight and going into early tomorrow morning are under that level 3 out of 4 for for flooding rain. Now that does see some relief as we head throughout the day Thursday, and even more so Friday. So by Thursday, we start to see a lot of those tropical rains start wrapping up, but the ground will be saturated. The other concern is going to be those rivers. Now on the North Shore, we've been showing you footage from Folsom on the Tchefuncte already overflowing their banks, expected to get up to 21.9 feet. So significant major flood category, and most of our observed locations are expected to are forecasted to get to either moderate or major flooding through tomorrow. And again, some of these don't even consider what rain totals that we actually get from this storm going into tomorrow. So I still think our greatest impact will be the flooding, flash flooding, as well as North Shore and Mississippi River floods. Again, the rain arrives later on tonight and will be with us into tomorrow. Secondary will be the increasing winds and only minor issues for storm surge at about 1 to 3 feet. And this is only for areas that are outside of the hurricane risk reduction system. What has been really interesting and something we'll have to watch through the overnight is just how much of a player this dry air is, because this is what is keeping Texas dry and keeps kind of eroding a lot of that moisture. So hopefully it is a trend which continues into the overnight, and we do see kind of a reduction in some of those rainfall totals that we actually see. Again, all the totals that we've been showing you are only model guidance. What actually happens tomorrow is still yet to be seen. And what I'm hopeful is that the dry air becomes a little bit more entrained within all of this moisture and does help to reduce the amount of moisture available in the atmosphere to prevent those huge totals that we could have seen. Again, where the numbers had been just a day or so ago, have significantly come down, and I think it's because this dry air around the center of the storm is becoming far more of a player with regard to the rainfall totals that we will see. Again, this is not the time to breathe that sigh of relief. Certainly positive news with regard to the totals, but not breathing that sigh of relief yet. As the ground is so saturated, any additional heavy rain could quickly see some flash flooding, and the rivers on the North Shore are already overflowing their banks. Sharice?
Chris, I have a lot of questions that are coming in from residents that are living all around the New Orleans metro area. One of those questions from Ricky, he's saying, is it a system that has a chance of stalling?
No, this does not look like it is going to stall. One thing that I was looking at on the water vapor here is that, let me switch back over to that if I can pull that animation up here, is that we've got some incredibly fast moving winds. So as this gets caught up in that, it is going to be pulled away from us very quickly. There'll still be some lingering showers around. So it's not as though we're going to quickly completely dry out. There will still be some rainfall even through the afternoon and evening on Thursday. We'll see some scattered showers on Friday, but the system is not going to stall out. The upper troughing and this upper wind shear is going to quickly move that storm out of here.
All right, another one question from Angela now. Why does it look like it's trying to form an eye down over water?
I'm sorry, what was that question?
Why does it look like it's trying to form an eye over water?
Oh, that is actually a phenomenal question, and I'm going to switch over to our radar here before I join you at the desk. One thing that it does look like it is trying to do is form a new center of circulation. That is not the case. There is definitely kind of a broad spin. I've been watching this since I got into work earlier this morning, and this is not associated with the center. The center is still where our strongest winds are. This is kind of a little mid-level spin, so this is not at the surface. This is at the surface. So it is not trying to form a new eye per se. It's just kind of a mid-level circulation. You're going to get these little spins within tropical systems all the time. This is not one of those where you would get a new eye try and form and all of a sudden it tries to intensify. The wind shear and dry air can prevent this from, as a matter of fact, it's weakening right now.
Right.
We're just waiting for the heaviest of the rain to move in.
Yeah, speaking of that, Terrebonne, people wondering why it's not under a flood watch.
We're not expecting the heaviest of the rainfall along our bayou parishes. The heaviest of the rainfall should kind of follow a path more from, say, if you were looking at a map, from, say, the Atchafalaya Basin,
right,
just to the west of the bayou parishes, and then up not quite all the river parishes, more Ascension, Assumption, and then up toward the North Shore.
Yeah, and some people who are coming into New Orleans on Friday, they're concerned about the road conditions. Obviously, some road areas along certain parishes are already experiencing some flooding, and the river levels are already starting to rise in certain areas.
Right.
So should they be concerned as they're making their way here to New Orleans? So this person says they're driving from Houston.
Depending on, the river parishes certainly have a chance, and out toward Baton Rouge, in the direction of the Atchafalaya Basin. So that does have a chance of getting some rain flooding, not storm surge flooding. But again, it's kind of asking what roads are going to flood tomorrow. Well, we don't know until it happens. So it's one of those, if you're planning to drive here, just wait until tomorrow to see which roads have issues before you hit the road on Friday.
And does that flooding, how long does it typically take that river flooding to go down after a situation like this?
On the North Shore, they should start dropping pretty quickly, especially going into the weekend. It's just, again, a question of how much rain do we get on the North Shore.
Right. So another question from Angela, wondering about the Pearl River in Slidell at Davis Landing.
That is expected to, again, rise above flood stage. So almost all of our rivers on the North Shore are currently in flood warnings.
Right.
And most of them are already experiencing overflowing of the banks or overtopping of the banks, and will likely continue. Some are already cresting, some don't crest until tomorrow.
All right.
And again, we're waiting for that rain.
And I know that some people say, we just want you to be weather aware. We want you to be prepared. We're not saying that this is getting a direct hit to our area.
We have been discussing before newscasts how to word this because the center is over Texas.
Right.
So it has made landfall. It is inland already near Houston, but it's so asymmetrical, we're getting the heaviest of the rain, but the center is already on land in Texas. So if you look at when you plot hurricane paths year after year, this is going to be one that hugged the Texas coast and moved inland near Galveston. Right. Nothing will be mentioned about New Orleans.
Yes, and so we're getting the
But we're getting the heaviest of the rain. And we've seen that before in the past where we've had such wind shear where we got a landfalling tropical system, but Florida got the heaviest of the rain.
Yeah, so I know that people are concerned, and I see the comments of people.
No, and I understand, and especially if we just word, and as we were discussing, if we say the rain from Arthur, or do we say Arthur? Well, it is Arthur. It is all the same tropical storm, but no, it has already made landfall. It's inland over Texas.
All right, making sure that we're keeping
everybody covered. So it won't strengthen.
All right, perfect. So anything else that we need to add? I know that some people were asking about specific areas, Montague, Barataria, and Hammond as well.
We tried to break down everyone with regard to what your impacts are. On our website, we have a parish by parish breakdown of what you can expect through tomorrow.
All right, we're going to be breaking into the news later on at 10 o'clock.
We'll have our normal 10 o'clock newscast, but then we will be here through the overnight, and our morning news will be starting an hour early at 4 a.m.
All right, thank you so much, Chris. For the latest, stay with WWL Louisiana. Of course, as we track Tropical Storm Arthur, you can find the latest updates in our apps for your phones and smart TVs, as well as on our website and our social media feeds.